I'm curious about this. Big Fry TV, is the First Descendant overrated? I don't know. I think the game was just okay, but I don't really feel like I've heard it being lauded as some amazing game either. I don't know. Maybe I'm not looking in the right communities, but I don't feel like anybody's really been making out that this game is the new best thing, you know? So let's see what he's got to say.
Their DLSS 3.5 technology in just a little bit. Okay, I'm finally getting around to the video on the
One thing I will say about the First Descendant though is it does look like Unreal 5 slop. Now, I'm not saying the game's ugly or it's a bad game. I had a little bit of fun with what I played of it. It's probably not the sort of game that I'll really put too much time into because I just think it's a bit repetitive. But it's, you know what I mean about that Unreal 5 slop? It looks good, but it's just like, you know it's Unreal 5. It's like, it doesn't really seem to have any like artistic presence beyond just looking like a tech demo almost, if that makes sense.
The First Descendant. A bunch of you guys have been asking me my thoughts on the game. It's a brand new Warframe-like game that is taking the world by storm, sitting in the top 10 most played games on Steam since it came out. It's a free-to-play, third-person looter shooter built in Unreal Engine 5, and I have to say right up front, for an Unreal Engine 5 game, it actually runs really well. We'll get into that.
Yeah, kind of, Neil. Yeah. Kind of like a drag and drop
later. So you play as a Descendant equipped with...
I don't want to really say asset flippy because it's not, but you know, it can come across that. It almost like... I think derivative is probably the perfect word. And I think it's because most people are still just getting used to using Unreal 5 at the minute, so they tend to keep in the lane, so to speak. The best game, in my opinion, so far, and I don't know all the games using Unreal 5, but Neverness to Everness looks great. I think that's UE5, and... you know, I think that game looks amazing. And obviously, because it's anime style, and I love anime style. So I just think so far, that's the one game using UE5 that doesn't look like a UE5 game.
Unique abilities and modules to upgrade, utilizing a multitude of weapons that you can also upgrade with different modules. You can play with up to 4 people in a party, completing various PvE missions throughout the story and engaging in just insane boss fights. The game is...
I will give this game that. The boss fights are really good. They're really cool. The boss designs are really cool as well. And they are actually decent fights. Some of the elite mobs are super annoying. But yeah, I think some of the boss fights are pretty cool.
It's chock full of content, from a shit ton of missions to play throughout a story that I could only describe as terrible drivel.
Yeah.
Seriously. Holy shit. Just like another game taking the world by storm called Once Human, I would personally recommend, if you're playing either one of these games, just skipping anything to do with cutscenes and dialogue and just get straight to the gameplay, which is where I think both of these games shine. I've been spending my time playing the First Descendant, upgrading.
Sometimes though, I like playing stories that are bad, because if it depends, it's when games are boring, they suck. I am an enjoyer of stuff that's so bad it's good. You know, sometimes when movies are just like really crap, like the acting, the screenwriting, the camera work, everything's so bad that you can't help but like, dude, this is awesome. This is putting a smile on my face because it's bad. I like that sometimes in video games and certain stories, because like you just listen to it and you're like, what the hell? Like that one dude who came in and his name was Greg. I just couldn't get over the fact that he was talking in this like, I am the destroyer Greg or whatever it was. And it's just like, dude, your name's Greg, bro. What the fuck?
Crafting and trying to unlock different descendants, and for the most part it's a pretty in-depth game with an accessible early game to kind of ease you into that grind. As somebody who doesn't play games like this too often, I'm actually having a pretty good time if my focus is on the gameplay itself, which basically boils down.
The combat is tight in this game. It is pretty tight. If you took everything away from this game and you just looked at the actual combat, it's a decent combat system. I'll probably give it like a 7. It feels tight. It doesn't really feel too floaty. You know, everything kind of works how it should be, you know?
Down to like grab a mission, go kill things while a simple objective is taking place, like, you know, standing in a circle or having to, you know, kill.
Hey, what's up, Cheese? Right, I love that, dude. I love that.
Waves of enemies until one of them drops something, and then you got to grab that item, run it over to a generator or a robot, power that up. It's very simple gameplay. Yep. And then basically you do the objective, you kill a bunch of things, and then you move on to the next mission, which is essentially the same thing.
It's just that sort of game that you can switch off and play, in my opinion. It's repetitive, as I said, but for me, it's that perfect sort of game where you can just put it on. You can have something on the, kind of like gacha games, to be fair. You can have something on the second monitor, a podcast, a video, whatever it might be, and just play, you know, and you don't have to focus too much you know, focus just enough for it to be engaging, but you can just enjoy something else at the side as well.
Starting
And
3
sometimes
hours
they're
of
the
the
best
game
games,
is
sometimes.
pretty mind-numbing. Enemies are bullet sponges. They really don't pose a threat at all until they do. But the game services its goals well and gives you a ton of things to work towards and craft and basically unlock, you know, up front. This is one of those games where you want to shut off your brain for a while, kill mindless enemies, grind, unlock things, craft things,
Fry's reading my mind.
and just keep leveling. Like, it has that Warframe-like experience, and it does it well enough. Looking around the internet and at Steam reviews, though, you'd think this game killed some people's pets on first startup. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to start with talking about the art style and the graphic quality here. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, the game does run really, really well. For an Unreal Engine 5 game, this is definitely one of the more optimal.
It does run well. It does. See, like, I don't like to talk about performance too much in video games, if I'm honest. Humble brag, I am on a 4090 and a 13900K with fast RAM. So, you know, I'm not getting the majority experience for people. There's a lot of people who are not on those systems. So I tend not to lean into performance sometimes as a massive opinion that I like to give out in videos, because I'm running on like a high-end system and not everybody is. But yeah, the game did seem to run okay for me. So, but that obviously, there's plenty of games where I'm like, dude, this game runs fine. And everyone's like, no, it does not.
Optimized ones that I have been able to play. And from like a quality graphic level perspective, I do think this game visually looks really, really nice.
It does. Graphical fidelity in this game is nice. I'm just not a massive fan of the art style. And I've said this multiple times and I'll say it again. Art style is always better than graphics. You know, there's a place for games that have got beautiful graphics, you know, your AAA games, you know, like your God of Wars, your Last of Us, your Spider-Man games that come out and you're like, dude, this game looks amazing. The fidelity's insane. But then like 5-10 years down the line, they age, don't they? But games that have got amazing art styles, they might not be the most graphical fidelity game, you know, might not be so impressive, but the art style just, you know, 10 years down the line, the game still looks amazing, doesn't it?
And that's most likely due to the fact that I'm playing this game on an RTX 4080, which means I can take advantage of NVIDIA DLSS 3.5 technology with ray reconstruction, frame generation,
A segue into the sponsor there.
and super resolution. Playing at 4K max settings with all of the ray tracing effects enabled, these RTX 40 series GPUs are pushing performance to the max with an average increase of 2.7x at 4K. DLSS 3.5 with ray reconstruction and frame generation.
I'm impressed here. That is a good segue, man. That's a good segue, dude.
Enhances ray tracing and multiplies performance using AI. And when you combine that with NVIDIA Reflex to lower your system latency, I mean, you can't lose. If you're playing the First Descendant, you can enable all of these features by hitting the escape button, going to your options, and everything is right there. A big shout out to NVIDIA for sponsoring this video. If you guys want to take advantage of all of this technology, just go to your options menu, check to see if you can turn all of this stuff on. If you have an RTX
But first, you got to buy the card.
GPU, or if you're using an older GPU in the GTX
I can't
series,
find it. I'm
you
on
can
a
take advantage of
1080.
things like NVIDIA Reflex with their low latency system architecture, and you can still have a better time. I want to shift gears back to the other half of this visual discussion. I do believe the game looks visually really, really good. It's Unreal Engine 5. It's got the lighting. It's got everything. It looks crisp. But the other half of this discussion is the art style, which I gotta say, I'm not really the biggest fan of. Obviously,
It's quite generic.
this game is coming from Nexon, it's coming from South Korea, and it's definitely got that Eastern vibe combined with...
Dude, not even just the Eastern vibe. I don't know what it is with Korean developers. Korean games all look the same. There's just like this Nexon specifically, but Korean games just they've got this style that's like, okay, that game's Korean. It's not even like, oh, that game's Asian or Eastern. You know, it's that game's Korean. It's wild.
like this future, almost like, I want to call it cyberpunk, but it's more like future mech. It reminds me a lot of what you saw in Halo 4, like these crazy cyber metal structures and robots. And I'll be honest with you, I've seen it a million fucking times before. It's kind of, at this point, it's kind of just a tiresome art style.
It's generic.
It's a tiresome setting. I feel like I've seen this before. It doesn't feel original. Combine that with the story that's going on at the same time. The whole world just seems so uninspired and almost soulless. You're running around.
Agree. This was my major complaint with the game. The game is, the world's dead. It looks pretty, but it's a dead world, you know, unless you're engaged in a quest that's spawning enemies. There's nothing happening apart from other players potentially running around. It's just empty, and it's kind of like it's boring. It pulls. It's not immersive. It's just not immersive.
You're doing these missions, and while the gameplay is very, very fun, the setting that you're in, it really just leaves a lot, at least for me, to be desired. Now, with all of that said, I'm currently in the 3rd or 4th zone, completing quests that basically boil down to like world quests around the map in any MMO. The game can definitely get repetitive, which is why the focus is on building up your character from their mastery ranks to modules to weapons. The whole goal is that things are repetitive for you to build your character out and then take it into large-scale boss fights like this.
Now, for me, this is where this game kind of shines. Because some of these boss fights, I think they just look freaking cool, man. And they are actually quite fun to play as well.
Just got out of my
Oh, she's looking at me! Oh, fuck! Oh, shit!
Don't die, don't die, don't...
Hopefully they will have more settings, but I wish they had more settings and rather than they just these almost like constructs that you spawn into. I don't know how else to describe them. Like, you know, the map you're in, it's just like this kind of construct almost, and I'd like there to be a bit more variety in that as well. But yeah, they're cool, man.
Don't die!
I'm trying fucking not to! Oh!
Run! Shooting her right in the pussy!
Fuck her right in the pussy!
It's working!
Whoa!
There, she's dead.
Nice.
Look at all that shit.
Woo.
Yoink, yoink, yoink.
Now, the character I chose at the beginning is Lepic, who is like this assault who throws like grenades and gravity well.
Sorry to keep pausing. That's another thing that I wasn't a massive fan of. The 3 characters you get to choose from at the start of the game are just non-inspiring. They just look really generic. The dude who's like the shield guy looks kind of cool. He looks like just like a Titan kind of thing out of Destiny though. But he probably looks the coolest. But their set of abilities just seem really unimpressive. They're a lot more fun when you actually use them in the game. But like when you look at the character and you see what they can do, it's just like, this looks really bland and pedestrian almost.
Kind of like sucky grenades. And he also has a pretty sick overkill that basically inflicts burning damage. His whole focus is doing damage, rolling around, being agile, and just dishing out as much damage as possible. And I like him. I was playing with Fuzzy, who was...
Yeah, like the Ice Girl that I use, I liked her. I just think they were sold weakly, if that makes sense. Like when you look at them to choose who you're going to play as, it's just like, none of these look interesting. And then you play as them, and it's like, I remember I was doing a open overworld mission, and one of the guys who does all the grenade stuff was playing with me, and I was like, oh, actually, he looks kind of cool now. I wish I'd have picked him.
Was using the tanker class. I believe his name is Ajax, and he does like bubble shields and shield walls and stuff to kind of protect you and basically let you kind of deal damage from afar, and it's a pretty good combo. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is where things start to go south for a lot of players, and that's in the ability to unlock and purchase new characters from the shop, or, you know, making research requests, which is where you can unlock all of the blueprints and all of the pieces to unlock new characters, or you can just purchase them using Caliber, which is their currency that you have to purchase.
I don't have a problem with that. Hot take, don't have a problem with that. For games free to play, I genuinely don't mind how many microtransactions or how expensive they are in the game. And I don't mind them having things that are not available, so to speak. I don't like it when games take away content and make the game worse to let you buy it back. That's what I don't like, but stuff like that doesn't bother me at all, if I'm honest.
With real money. So how this works, being a free-to-play game, is well, you have a shit ton of things that you can buy. Cosmetics, Descendant skins, weapon skins, color palettes. Most of that stuff can be unlocked through their premium battle pass, which costs a certain amount of Caliber. And there's also an in-game store that sells other items for Caliber as well, along with XP boosters and items to bypass certain time barriers with real-life money. The individual Descendants can be bought directly from the store using Caliber, and without this current...
And as somebody who I've played about 20 minutes of Warframe, as somebody who's not played it, I guess, I've seen from a lot of the people within the Warframe community say that the system's not bad at all in the time, because apparently the amount of time it takes to get all your parts for your frames in Warframe is like a lot, apparently. So I think it just depends on the kind of games you play, where you might be a little bit more, generous in your view of this sort of stuff within the game. Me, when a game's free to play, like I say, as long as they're not pulling stuff out of the game and making it unfun, so you have to buy it back. I don't mind stuff that might take a little bit longer if you're free, or certain stuff you just can't get access to if you're free, because at the end of the day, the game's got to make some kind of money, hasn't it? Like, you know, and I think if you don't like that sort of stuff in games, I just think you should stay away from free-to-play games, personally.
Currency, you need to grind for materials to unlock each new Descendant, which, as far as I'm aware, is the exact same system that they have in Warframe.
Yeah.
Now,
And
whether
as
you
far
consider
as
that pay
I'm
to
aware, it's more generous.
win in a PvE experience, there's no PvP in this game at all. That's kind of up to your discretion, which is
It's not pay to win, really. It's just pay to progress, I guess. You know, pay to power, I suppose, almost.
why I feel like the game is sitting at a mixed review. There's other reasons in there as well that we're going to talk about, but that pay to win element of, you know, a PvE only experience, and you can choose to bypass time gates and other things by spending real money. I can definitely see why some people don't want to be involved in yet another freemium game like that. And, you know, I totally understand it. What pisses me off about the entire system is all of the starting Descendants are around 300 caliber, and you can only purchase caliber in segments of either 250 or 500 with
That's the systems I'm not a fan of. That's the systems I'm not a fan of.
a 20 caliber bonus, so 520. So you
But it's like the smallest one's just a little bit less than what you can, what you need to get the character. So you only have to buy the package that's the higher tier package. But then you're left with just enough left that's not enough to get another thing. So it's like you're always in that deficit. So you always have to keep buying. I don't like those systems either. It's like, just, if you're gonna have a character that costs $5, let me buy a $5 pack. Don't make me either buy a $3.99 pack or a $10 pack. That's when it sucks.
You have to buy the 250, which is $6.99 Canadian. You have to buy that twice to have enough caliber to purchase.
Not a fan of that.
Descendant.
I understand
while
people
each
not liking
Descendant
that.
is
But at
technically
the end of the day, it's designed specifically for that reason. Is it's to get you to buy the one above to afford the cheaper item. But then you've got just enough left that you can either spend on a couple of little tiny things, or if you want to do that again, you've got to buy again. So it always leaves you wanting, you know? It's smart. It's predatory. It is. But at the end of the day, a lot of systems in free-to-play games inevitably are predatory. And I think if you have an issue with those sort of systems, it's just not the space for you, in my opinion.
300 caliber, or around $8, give or take. You have to spend $14 worth of money to purchase the caliber needed to afford one of the. It's predatory as shit.
Yep.
It's the same freemium model we see in a million different games, and I know that's going to be the excuse for a lot of people that excuse it away. I myself am tired of seeing monetization practices like that.
I agree. I would rather you just be able to do that as well. That's the one issue I do have with those sort of packages. I'm just like, if there's an item in the game that's the main item that people are going to buy, let me just have a package or a coin, a currency, whatever, that's set in an amount that's the same amount as that, and then I can just buy it and that's it. But I understand why they don't. It's just, it does suck.
Predatory, it's scummy, which is why, like, even though I really enjoy the game, I'm never purchasing a single fucking thing from this storefront. It's on that level of, like, it could be called.
Oh man, if Plazooka's heard that, he wouldn't be happy about that. He wouldn't be happy about that. You'd be, what is it, tantamount to being on fucking benefits? A scrounger?
Pay to win, but people could also make the argument that it's more of like pay to not grind as much, which I know some people would then rebuttal and be like, yeah, that's basically pay to win. Why do you want to, you know, spend money to bypass the whole point of the game, which is that grind? So, you know, there's always going to be a back and forth with gamers, and that's what's leading to at least one section of these people leaving negative reviews.
I think some people love the grind though, don't they? That's why I think a lot of people enjoy free-to-play games. You know, obviously there's certain things that they don't want in the game, or they'd like to be different. But I think there's a lot of people, it depends on the gameplay loop. It's how well the gameplay loop's made, isn't it? But that's an attractive element to some people. It's almost like the MMO experience of going out, farming, grinding, you know, putting in the hours for the thing you want. And And I understand that they're designed like that to get you to pay. Some people actually relish in that, don't they?
One of the other big complaints is, well, the fact that there's 2 different anti-cheats layered on top of one another in this game for a PvE-only experience. It doesn't feel like it's even necessary.
I didn't know that.
Until you start looking into what the EULA states in their terms of service. And one of the reviews points out here, the anti-cheat steals virtually all data from you and even blatantly admits to retroactively and proactively stealing all of your browsing data as per their EULA and privacy policy agreement in Section 1. Pages that you visit
Ain't gonna get much from me then, man, you know? Just looking at fucking degenerate content and maybe the odd porn fucking video. You know, have at it, boys. Sell it on if you want to, you know? I don't know what it's gonna benefit you in your game. I guess, you know, you might just be adding more BBWs potentially, I suppose.
Visit before and after the use of the services is quoted in this review. All of that for a game that has just an overcomplicated end game that requires you to grind so much to unlock end game gear that it kind of just incentivizes people to pull out their wallets and buy whatever they need, and then also double dips and sells your data as a data broker. There's a lot of reasons to.
Then again, though, nowadays, who doesn't sell our data? Come on, you know, if you're using Facebook, if you're using any major website nowadays, your shit is getting sold, you know? That's why, like, even I don't even necessarily mind so much, because I just think it's the cost of doing business on the internet, so to speak. And sometimes it's scummy, it sucks, and sometimes it gets sold to nefarious operatives. I understand that. But I just think it's part and parcel of a free ecosystem in how the internet works, isn't it? You know, like I say, if you're using a lot of the social media sites, your shit's getting sold anyway. That's what I was going to say as well. That's why I hate when websites make it difficult to disable cookies in Europe, because that, I don't think you guys have that in America, do you? So basically now, because there was an EU law, and I think Britain's still like signed up to it, that you go on a website and the website has to explain the cookies. Basically, there's a pop-up that comes up and it's like, you know, these are all the cookies and how they're used, and you can usually reject all, accept all, or you can customize, so you can choose ones you don't want to have and ones you don't mind them using. Some websites will go out the way to make that shit fucking hard to disable. Now, a lot of the time, I'll just like, I don't mind. It depends on the website, but I'll usually just reject all anyway. You know, I'm just like, you know, if the option's there, I'll reject it. I'd rather do that than having it done. But I understand, like I said, it's part of doing business on the internet in a way. But as soon as a website makes it difficult for you to do that, there's not just a reject all option. I'm like, you know what? I'll fucking get the information somewhere else. I don't want to use your website, man. Because when you're going to make me jump through hoops like that, it's like, fuck you then.
Maybe want to avoid something like this. Their monetization model.
Just got to say, I'm noticing Fry's falling to his death quite a lot here. I'm liking it.
Model is flawed. If you're going into this game thinking you're just not going to spend any money, all the more power to you. I think you can have a good time with it, but just know it's a free-to-play game, monetized out the ass. They're going to want to incentivize you to spend real money. And here's the thing, I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't spend $1. I'm not spending a fucking dime on it. I'm going to play the game and grind the way it wants me to. And if there's time gates and everything else, then I guess that's just something you deal with until you don't want to deal with it anymore, and then we just move on to another game. That's really how that's how I'm approaching a game like this, because I'm not a big Warframe player as is. It's not that I'm like hating on that game, it's just something I've never really dived.
I couldn't get into Warframe. Like I say, I don't know how long, maybe an hour I played it for. I just couldn't get into it. Maybe if I went at it again now, because I think over the last couple of years my gaming tastes have become a little bit less strict. Not that I've had strict gaming tastes. I've always liked a variety of different games, but just certain things within video games a few years ago, especially more instance grind fests where you replay like similar content over again. I was a little bit against all that, but I've started to soften up to that sort of stuff now, and I kind of enjoy the grind in certain ways, but it all depends on the gameplay loop. Yeah, I just couldn't get into it, man.
Into, so I don't really feel that like emotional connection to be like super pissed off about some of this stuff. I'm just not gonna partake in it. Long story short, I'm enjoying the game, at least for the gameplay itself, the addictive nature of, you know, always upgrading your character, unlocking things, that dopamine hit for unlocking and progression in a game like this is insane. That being said, when you look into what
This
people
fight
actually
up here
have
is
gripes
super
with, you can
annoying.
see some real like valid complaints from the community that's leading to this mixed review score. But at the end of the day, we always
I am going to make an argument. I haven't looked at any of the reviews, so this is a total assumption, and I'm just like speaking out my ass here. But I reckon there's going to be a lot of negative reviews and people having issues with the game just because of the microtransactions, which I think at the end of the day nowadays is almost a little bit disingenuous from the consumer side of things. Obviously, there's going to be levels, and certain egregious systems in video games deserve to be called out. But I just think nowadays we know what we're going to get out of free-to-play games. Don't we? We know what is expected, really. You know, we know what the design philosophy is going to be and what the game's trying to do in terms of FOMO, emotional connections, you know, time gates, whatever it might be, whatever the system is. We know that one of them or all of them or some of them are going to be in the game. And I just think if you've got a viewpoint that you just can't stand that stuff, I just think it's best just to stay away from those kinds of games personally, you know, because we've got to face it now. Those sort of things have been creeping into games for a long time. There are premium games, so we're going to expect it in freemium games. I think I understand when people get mad about it when they've paid 50 quid for a game and then there's all these systems in the game. That fucking blows and shit deserves to be called out. But I think a lot of the time it's cosmetics and just extra stuff that makes the game, you know, add some extra stuff, more enjoyability to the game. I don't really have an issue with it personally.
It's like to talk about healthy player bases and player pools of games. Right now, the game, I mean, it peaked at 264,000 on Steam.
Which is insane numbers.
And at the time of recording this video, a 24-hour peak of 150,000. Even with the mixed review, there's a ton of people still.
Damn. It's holding numbers then, isn't it? It is holding numbers. Is this game on console as well? By any chance, chat? Do you know? Is this game on console or people in the comments? Is this on console? Oh, it is, yeah. Fucking hell, I'm stupid. It literally says right there, somebody's playing on PlayStation. All right, no need to answer.
Playing it, and I think it's doing very, very well.
Yeah,
if you're
definitely
looking for something to grind mindlessly throughout the summer, I do think this could be a game for you. You can play with your friends. You can do some PvE. You don't gotta.
That's probably why it's doing well. There is that element to it. I think this has probably got a lot of Destiny and Warframe players, so it's like it's probably happened at a perfect time that both of those games have kind of they've been out for a while, and there's a bit of a there's a bit of not complacency, but, you know, not even from the devs actually, but there's a bit of that yearning for that sort of thing from the audience. So it's probably come out at just the right time for people to be like, you know what, I'm going to go grind this for a while until the next thing comes out, like, or the next big content update for one of those other two games. You know what I mean?
Worry about hackers coming in and ruining your experience, at least as far as I can see. And you have something to do. I haven't dropped a video on it, but it's going to be coming this week. I will say, if I, gun to head, if I had to choose one game over the other, whether it's the First Descendant or Once Human, both of these games are delivering two different experiences, but they have a lot of similarities. Both are coming from South Korean companies moving over to the West. Both of them have that kind of same weird, like, ooh-woo Eastern aesthetic, but Once Human is leaning more into the MMO survival game and more MMO, whereas the First Descendant is leaning more into that Warframe Destiny style experience. If I had to choose one, my pick is Once Human, and I'm gonna have a video telling you guys why in the next few days. But
although I haven't played any of Once Human since it's launched, I played in some of the betas, but I really need to get back on Once Human because I like that game. I do.
If you're wanting to get into a game like Warframe, but that in-depth nature of the game is kind of intimidating, I don't know, maybe take a look. Or if you're looking for something just like a casual, mind-numbing grind for you and your friends, try the game out. It's completely free to play. It is Nexon.
That's the benefit it's got as well, hasn't it, over Destiny and something like Warframe is they've been out for a long time now, and there's a lot of stuff in the game and a lot of systems and a lot of updates, and you know, you can come into them, it can be a little bit overwhelming. I've said this multiple times about Destiny. I feel like Destiny is one of those games when you take a bit of time off and you come back, it's just like, I don't feel like I can get back into it.
It is monetized to hell, but use some self-control and maybe don't spend a shit ton of money on it if you can help it. As always, big shout out to NVIDIA for sponsoring the video. I do think
great segue as again earlier.
The graphic style and the performance of this game is fucking awesome. There are some things I like about it. There are some things I don't. And as an early player and somebody who doesn't really touch these kind of games, I'm genuinely pretty happy with the experience so far. My name is Big Bright. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below.
Took me a second to figure that out.
I'm always curious to know what you guys think of experiences like this. While you're down there, Leave a like on the video, subscribe for more content just like this, and I'll see you on the next one.
All right, good video. To be fair, Big Fry usually makes good videos, so yeah. I don't think it's overrated because I don't think people are really I haven't heard it myself giving it that high of a rating, if I'm honest. It's obviously doing well though, still holding 150k players at peaks over 24 hours is impressive, if I'm honest. I thought it would have dropped down a little bit more than that.